Elena Carter thought she had everything figured out. She was 28 years old, had a good job at a marketing company, and was 3 months away from marrying the man everyone said was perfect for her. His name was Brandon Mitchell, and on paper he really did seem perfect. He worked at a big investment bank, drove an expensive car, and came from one of those families that everyone in town knew about. The kind of family that got their names on hospital wings and charity event programs. Their wedding was going to be huge. Elena's mother had been planning it for almost a year. The venue was booked at the fanciest hotel in the city. The dress hanging in Elena's closet had cost more than some people's cars. 400 people were invited. Her mother kept a detailed spreadsheet of RSVPs, meal preferences, and seating arrangements. Everything was perfect. Everything was planned. Everything was exactly how it was supposed to be, except it wasn't. Elena found out about the cheating in the worst possible way. She'd left work early one Thursday because she had a splitting headache. She decided to surprise Brandon at his apartment with his favorite takeout from that expensive sushi place he loved. She had a key. She let herself in. And there he was on the couch with a woman from his office. A woman Elena had met at company parties. A woman who'd smiled at her and complimented her engagement ring. The rest of that day was a blur. The shouting. The excuses. Brandon saying it didn't mean anything, that he loved Elena, that it was just stress from work. The woman grabbing her clothes and running out. Elena throwing the sushi at the wall and leaving the ring on the coffee table. The next few weeks were worse than the discovery itself. She had to tell her parents. Her mother cried for 2 days, not because her daughter was hurt, but because of what people would say. Her father just kept shaking his head and muttering about deposits that couldn't be refunded. They'd already spent so much money on the wedding. Then came the phone calls. Elena had to contact the venue, the caterer, the florist, the band, the photographer. Each conversation was humiliating. She had to return the engagement gifts that had already started arriving. Fancy kitchen appliances, crystal vases, expensive picture frames meant to hold wedding photos that would never exist. Her friends didn't know what to say. Some of them tried to be supportive. Others stopped calling altogether. A few suggested she try to work it out with Brandon, as if his cheating was just some minor disagreement they could get past. One friend actually said, "Well, all men make mistakes. He comes from such a good family." That comment made Elena feel sick. The worst part was running into people she knew, at the grocery store, at the coffee shop, at the dry cleaners. She could see it in their faces. The pity, the curiosity. Some people asked directly what happened. Others just stared. The whispers followed her everywhere. "That's the girl whose fiancé cheated on her. I heard the wedding was supposed to be at the Grandview Hotel." What a shame. Elena stopped going to her usual places. She stopped attending the social events her mother kept trying to drag her to. She felt like a failure even though she'd done nothing wrong. Her carefully planned future had exploded, and she didn't know how to put the pieces back together. 2 months after the breakup, Elena was barely functioning. She went to work, came home, and spent her evenings staring at her phone, deleting wedding planning apps and unfollowing Brandon on every social media platform. Her apartment felt empty. Her life felt empty. That's when her coworker Amy suggested something different. Amy volunteered at a community center on the other side of town, in a neighborhood Elena had never really spent time in. They served meals to families who needed help, ran after-school programs for kids, and organized community events. "Come with me this weekend," Amy said. "I think it might help to focus on something other than yourself for a while." Elena almost said no. She wasn't really the volunteering type. She'd written checks to charities before, sure, but actually showing up and doing the work, that felt outside her comfort zone. But then again, everything in her life felt wrong anyway. What did she have to lose? That Saturday, Elena found herself in a part of the city she'd only ever driven through. The community center was in an old building that had clearly seen better days. The paint was peeling. The sign out front was faded. But inside it was full of life. Kids running around, elderly people playing cards at folding tables, volunteers moving between rooms with purpose and energy. Amy introduced her to the coordinator, a woman named Patricia, who immediately put Elena to work in the kitchen. They were preparing meals for about 60 families. Elena spent 3 hours washing vegetables, stirring huge pots of soup, and packing meals into containers. Her feet hurt. Her back ached. Her expensive manicure was ruined. But something strange happened. For 3 hours, she didn't think about Brandon once. She didn't think about her canceled wedding or her disappointed parents or the pitying looks from people at the country club. She just worked. She talked to the other volunteers. She laughed at someone's joke about their terrible cooking skills. She felt useful. It was while carrying boxes of meals to the distribution area that she first saw him. He was painting a mural on one of the center's walls, working carefully on what looked like a garden scene with flowers and butterflies. He wore old jeans splattered with paint and a faded t-shirt. His dark hair was messy and he had paint smudges on his arms. "That's Daniel," Amy said, noticing Elena looking. "He volunteers here every weekend. He's really talented." Daniel looked up at that moment and caught Elena staring. He smiled, just a small, friendly smile, and went back to his painting. Elena felt her face get hot and quickly looked away. She started going back to the community center every weekend. She told herself it was because the work made her feel good, because she liked helping people, because it gave her something to do besides sit at home feeling sorry for herself. All of that was true. But she'd be lying if she said she didn't look forward to seeing the quiet guy who painted murals and helped fix broken things around the center. Daniel was always there. Sometimes he painted. Sometimes he repaired furniture or fixed leaky faucets. Sometimes he just sat with the elderly residents and listened to their stories. He didn't talk much, but when he did, his voice was gentle and his words were thoughtful. They didn't speak directly for the first 3 weekends. They just exchanged small nods and smiles. Elena would catch herself watching him work, noticing how patient he was with the kids who wanted to help with his projects, how he treated everyone with the same quiet respect whether they were homeless or volunteers or staff. On her 4th weekend at the center, Elena was carrying a heavy box of donated books when the bottom gave out. Books scattered everywhere, sliding across the floor in every direction. She stood there feeling stupid and frustrated, fighting back tears that had nothing to do with dropped books and everything to do with how tired she was of everything in her life falling apart. Then Daniel was there, kneeling down and gathering books. "Happens to everyone," he said quietly. "These old boxes aren't made for much. Here, I'll get a better one." It was such a small moment, such a simple kindness. But something about it cracked something open in Elena's chest. When he came back with a sturdy plastic container and helped her reload all the books, she finally spoke to him properly. "Thank you," she said. "I'm Elena." "Daniel," he replied, and his smile reached his eyes. "Nice to officially meet you." That was how it started. With dropped books and a better box and a smile from a man with paint-stained hands who had no idea he was about to change everything. After that day with the dropped books, Elena and Daniel started talking more. Small conversations during breaks at the community center. He'd ask how her week was going. She'd comment on whatever project he was working on, simple stuff that didn't require her to pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. Daniel was different from anyone Elena had known before. He didn't talk about stock portfolios or country clubs. Instead, he told her about murals he was planning, about helping his elderly neighbors, about documentaries on sustainable architecture. 3 weeks after they'd officially met, Daniel asked if she wanted to grab coffee after volunteering. They went to a small cafe near the center, the kind of place with mismatched chairs and local art on the walls and coffee that cost $3 instead of $7. They talked for 2 hours. Daniel told her he worked in construction, doing carpentry, painting, general labor. He'd been doing it since he was 22. He lived in a studio apartment nearby and drove a 15-year-old truck that made weird noises but still ran. "What about you?" he asked. "What's your story?" Elena hesitated. She'd gotten used to people at the center not knowing about her failed engagement, about Brandon, about the whole mess of her old life. It was nice being anonymous, but something about the way Daniel looked at her, genuinely interested and patient, made her want to be honest. She told him everything. About Brandon and the cheating, about the canceled wedding and her parents' disappointment, about feeling like she'd failed even though she wasn't the one who'd messed up, about how empty and lost she'd felt before she started volunteering. Daniel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Sounds like you dodged a bullet. Anyone who'd cheat on you is an idiot." It was such a simple thing to say, but it made Elena want to cry. Not sad tears. Something else. Relief, maybe. Someone seeing her side without making excuses for Brandon or telling her to think about his good qualities or suggesting she try to forgive him. Coffee became their routine. Every Saturday after volunteering, they'd go to the same cafe. Sometimes they'd talk for an hour, sometimes 3. Elena learned that Daniel loved reading, especially books about architecture and city planning. He had this dream of designing affordable housing someday, places where families could actually afford to live with dignity. He knew it was a long shot. He'd need to save money for years to even think about going back to school. But it's nice to have something to work toward, he said, even if it takes forever. Elena found herself thinking about Daniel during the week. At work, she'd remember something funny he'd said and smile at her computer screen. At home, she'd see something interesting and make a mental note to tell him about it. It felt dangerous and exciting and terrifying all at once, her coworker Amy noticed. "You like him," she said one day at lunch, grinning. "The painter guy. You totally like him." "I don't know what you're talking about," Elena said, but she could feel her face turning red. "Please, you light up every time someone mentions the community center. Just ask him out properly. We already get coffee every week. As friends. I'm talking about a real date, dinner, maybe a movie, the whole thing." Elena shook her head. "I just got out of a relationship. I'm not ready for anything serious." But she was lying to herself. She knew she was lying. Because when she was with Daniel, she didn't feel like she was recovering from Brandon. She felt like she was discovering what she'd been missing all along. Daniel asked her out first. It was a Saturday in October, and they were walking through a neighborhood Elena had never explored. He wanted to show her street art he loved. Massive murals painted on old buildings with colors that were bright and alive. They stopped in front of a mural of a phoenix rising from flames. "So I've been thinking," Daniel said, nervous. "We've been doing this coffee thing for a while, and I really like spending time with you. I was wondering if you'd want to have dinner with me sometime, like an actual date, if you're interested." Elena's stomach flipped. She thought about all the reasons she should say no. It was too soon after Brandon. Daniel was so different from what she was used to. Her parents would have opinions. Her old friends would have opinions. Everyone would have opinions, but standing there on that street corner looking at Daniel's hopeful, nervous face, none of those reasons mattered. "Yes," she said. "I'd really like that." Daniel's smile was worth every bit of uncertainty she felt. Their first date was the following Friday. Daniel picked her up in his old truck. They went to a small Italian restaurant, the kind of family-owned place with checkered tablecloths and photos of Italy on the walls. The waiter knew Daniel by name. "Danny, good to see you." "Who's this?" "This is Elena," Daniel said, and the way he said her name made her feel special. They shared a pizza and talked about everything. Daniel told her about the worst construction job he'd ever had. Elena told him about accidentally sending a presentation to the wrong client. They laughed so hard people at other tables looked over. After dinner, they walked through a nearby park. Leaves crunched under their feet. Daniel reached for her hand carefully. Elena laced her fingers through his. "I have to be honest," Daniel said. "I don't have a lot of money. I can pay my bills, but I can't take you to fancy restaurants or buy expensive things. This is pretty much my speed." Elena stopped walking and turned to face him. "Do you think that matters to me?" "I don't know. You were engaged to someone who clearly had money. Your whole life before seems pretty different from mine." "My whole life before was a lie," Elena said. "Brandon looked perfect on paper but treated me like garbage. You've shown me more genuine kindness in 2 months than he showed me in 2 years. I don't care about expensive restaurants. I care about how you make me feel. And you make me feel seen." Daniel pulled her closer and kissed her. It was soft and sweet and made Elena's entire body feel warm. When they pulled apart, he was smiling. "I'm really glad you dropped those books," he said. Elena laughed. "Me too." They started seeing each other regularly. Real dates mixed with their Saturday volunteering. Daniel took her to places she'd never been. Food trucks that served amazing tacos. Used bookstores where you could spend hours browsing. Free concerts in the park. He showed her a different version of the city. One that didn't revolve around expensive memberships and exclusive events. Elena realized she loved this version more. She loved trying new things. The spontaneity of Daniel suggesting they check out some new place. She loved how he treated everyone with respect, whether they were serving him coffee or sitting next to him on the bus. But not everyone in Elena's life was happy about the relationship. Her mother found out she was seeing someone when Elena mentioned she couldn't make it to a family dinner because she had plans. Plans with whom? Her mother asked. Just someone I've been seeing. His name is Daniel. Her mother's interest perked up immediately. Daniel who? What does he do? What's his family? Elena should have lied. She knew that. But she was tired of hiding. He works in construction. I met him volunteering. The silence on the phone was deafening. Then her mother said, in that tight voice she used when she was upset but trying to stay calm, Elena, sweetheart, don't you think you're rebounding a bit? I'm not rebounding. I really like him. A construction worker. Elena, be serious. After everything with Brandon, you deserve someone established. Someone with prospects. Daniel has prospects. Does he have a degree? A career path? What about his family background? I don't care about any of that, Mom. But her mother did care. She cared a lot. And in the following weeks, Elena's parents made that very clear. Elena's parents didn't just disapprove. They launched a full campaign to end her relationship with Daniel. Her mother called every other day. Her father invited her to lunch just to tell her she was making a mistake. They brought up Brandon, saying maybe she should give him another chance. He made one mistake, her mother said over the phone. He comes from a good family. You two had a plan. A plan that involved him cheating on me, Elena said flatly. Don't be dramatic. Think about your future. What can this Daniel person offer you? Elena wanted to scream. Instead, she said she had to go and hung up. She was exhausted from defending her choices. Her old friends weren't much better. The ones who still kept in touch would make little comments. You're still seeing the construction guy? Or, must be nice not having to dress up for dates anymore. They said it like joking, but Elena could hear the judgment underneath. Only Amy from work seemed genuinely happy for her. Ignore them, Amy said. They're just mad because you're not playing by their rules anymore. Daniel makes you smile. That's all that matters. But the pressure was getting to Elena. She started having doubts, not about Daniel himself, but about whether she was being fair to him. Her family would never accept him. Was she dragging him into a situation where he'd always be judged? Daniel noticed she was stressed. They were at his apartment one evening, and Elena had been quiet all through dinner. Daniel had cooked something simple but good, and normally Elena would have been relaxed. But that night she kept checking her phone. What's going on? Daniel asked finally. And don't say nothing. You've said about 10 words in the last hour. Elena put down her phone. My parents want to meet you. Okay, that's good, right? No, it's not good. They want to meet you so they can convince me to break up with you. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Do you want to break up with me? No, God, no. But Daniel, they're never going to accept this, except us. My mother literally asked if you had a retirement fund. My father keeps bringing up Brandon like I should just forgive him and go back to my old life. What do you want? Daniel asked. Not what they want. What do you want? I want to be with you, but I don't want you to deal with my family treating you like you're not good enough. Because you are good enough. You're better than any of them. Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. I can handle your family. The question is, can you handle it? Because they're your family. I don't want to be the reason you lose them. You're not the reason. Their attitude is the reason. Still, I want you to be sure about us, about dealing with all this, because I'm not going anywhere, but I need to know you're all in too. Elena looked at him sitting there in his small apartment with his second-hand furniture and his genuine concern for her happiness. And she knew. I'm all in, she said. The dinner with her parents was exactly as awful as Elena had predicted. They met at an expensive restaurant, the kind where the menu didn't have prices. Elena could see Daniel looking slightly uncomfortable in the nice shirt he'd bought for the occasion. Her father shook Daniel's hand with that grip guys do when they're trying to assert dominance. Her mother smiled, but it was the fake smile she used at charity events. The meal was painful. Her parents asked Daniel questions designed to make him look bad. What were his career plans? Where did he go to college? Daniel answered honestly, saying he hadn't gone to college, that his parents had passed away when he was young, that he worked construction and was saving money to maybe study architecture someday. Architecture, her father said. Like Daniel had said he wanted to be an astronaut. That takes years of education, expensive. I know, Daniel said calmly. That's why I'm saving. Her mother jumped in. And where are you living currently? A studio apartment. It's small, but it's comfortable. A studio, her mother repeated, glancing at Elena. And you work in construction. That must be hard on your body. What happens when you get older and can't do physical labor anymore? Elena had heard enough. Mom, stop. I'm just asking reasonable questions, Elena. You can't live on love. You need stability. Daniel is stable. He works hard, he pays his bills, he's kind and thoughtful and treats me better than anyone ever has. What more do you want? We want you to have the life you deserve, her father said. The life you were supposed to have. With Brandon. Who cheated on me? People make mistakes, her mother said. Brandon has apologized multiple times. He comes from good stock. He has a real career. Daniel set down his fork. When he spoke, his voice was calm but firm. I appreciate you having me here tonight, but I need to say something. I love your daughter. I know I can't give her the kind of life you think she should have. I don't have a fancy job or a trust fund, but I will spend every day trying to make her happy. I will respect her and support her, and never make her feel like she's not enough. And if that's not good enough for you, I'm sorry, but it's good enough for her. And that's what matters. The table went silent. Elena's heart was pounding. Her mother looked shocked. Her father's face was red. Elena, her father said quietly, can we speak privately? No, Elena said. Anything you want to say, you can say in front of Daniel. Her father stood up. Then I think this dinner is over. When you come to your senses, you know where to find us, he walked out. Her mother gathered her purse and followed. You're throwing your life away, she said, then left. Elena and Daniel sat there in the expensive restaurant, their meals half-eaten, surrounded by the quiet murmur of other diners who'd witnessed the drama. Well, Daniel said finally, that went great. Elena laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. I'm so sorry, don't be. You stood up for me, for us. That took guts. They might actually disown me. Would that be the worst thing? Elena thought about it. Her parents' approval had always been important to her. She'd spent her whole life trying to make them proud, following their expectations, and she'd been miserable. No, she said, it wouldn't be the worst thing. Over the next few months, Elena's relationship with her parents remained strained. They barely spoke. Her mother would send occasional text messages about how disappointed she was. Some of her old friends took their side, stopped inviting her to things, but Elena had never been happier. She and Daniel grew closer. They spent weekends volunteering together, exploring the city, cooking dinner in his tiny kitchen. They talked about everything, made each other laugh, supported each other's dreams. One year after their first date, Daniel asked Elena to take a walk with him. They ended up at the community garden near the center, a little patch of green where volunteers had planted flowers and vegetables. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I need to ask you something, Daniel said, and Elena could hear nervousness in his voice. He got down on one knee right there between the tomato plants and the sunflowers. He pulled out a small box with a simple ring inside, nothing fancy, just a single small diamond on a silver band. Elena, I know I can't give you the life you grew up with. I know your family hates me, but I love you more than I thought possible. You make me want to be better, do better, dream bigger. Will you marry me? Elena was crying, but they were good tears. Yes, she said. Yes, absolutely yes. Daniel stood up and kissed her, and Elena felt completely sure. This was right. He was right. They were right. When she called to tell her parents she was engaged, her mother cried. Not happy tears, disappointed tears. Her father said, I hope you know what you're doing, and hung up. But Elena did know. For the first time in her life, she knew exactly what she was doing. She was choosing love over approval. She was choosing Daniel. Elena and Daniel got married 3 months later at City Hall. It was nothing like the wedding Elena had planned with Brandon. There was no fancy venue, no designer dress, no 400 guests. Just Elena in a simple white dress, Daniel in a borrowed suit, and about 20 people who genuinely cared about them. Amy was there. Some volunteers from the community center came. A few of Daniel's co-workers showed up. Elena's parents didn't come. Her mother had called it a mistake you'll regret. But standing there holding Daniel's hands and saying her vows, Elena didn't feel like she was missing anything. When the clerk pronounced them married and Daniel kissed her, everyone clapped and it was perfect. They celebrated at the same Italian place where they'd had their first date. The owner had reserved a section for them. It wasn't fancy, but it was real. People laughed and told stories. and Elena felt more loved than she ever had at any country club event. Daniel and Elena moved into a slightly bigger apartment after the wedding, just a one-bedroom in an older building. They furnished it slowly with second-hand finds. Elena's old friends would have been horrified, but Elena loved it. Money was tight. Elena's marketing job paid okay but not great. Daniel's construction work was seasonal. They budgeted carefully. Date nights became cooking at home instead of going out, but they were happy. They'd lie in bed talking about their dreams. Daniel would tell her about housing projects he wanted to design someday. Elena would talk about maybe starting her own marketing business eventually. 6 months into their marriage, something strange started happening. Elena noticed that despite their tight budget, Daniel never seemed genuinely worried about money. When their refrigerator broke, he bought a new one without the panic she expected. She mentioned it one night. "How are we managing this?" "The math doesn't add up." Daniel got quiet. "I'm good at budgeting, and I've been working some extra hours. It was reasonable, but something felt off." Daniel had expensive books about architecture. His truck never actually broke down, and once she saw a text from someone named Robert about quarterly reports. "Who's Robert?" she asked casually. "Just a guy I know. We grew up together." Elena had met some of Daniel's friends. None of them were named Robert. And what construction worker got quarterly reports? The real shock came at work. Elena's marketing firm landed a huge new client, Rivers Development Corporation, one of the biggest real estate companies in the city. Known for innovative, affordable housing, Elena was assigned to the account. Her boss handed her materials. "This is big for us. Their CEO is pretty young, took over from his grandfather, real visionary." Elena opened the folder that night while Daniel was in the shower. She started reading about the company, then got to the executive profiles. Her heart stopped. There was a photo of the CEO, Daniel Marcus Rivers. It was Daniel. Her Daniel. In an expensive suit standing in a modern office overlooking the city. She read the bio with shaking hands. Daniel Marcus Rivers, 30, became CEO at 25 after his grandfather's retirement. Net worth estimated at $300 million. Known for working alongside construction crews. Recently launched several affordable housing initiatives. Elena sat on their second-hand couch staring at this photo of her husband. Her husband who supposedly scraped by on construction wages. Her husband who'd been lying to her for 2 years. She heard the shower turn off. Her hands were still shaking. Daniel came out in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, rubbing his hair with a towel. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, seeing her face. Elena held up the folder. "Want to explain this?" Daniel froze. The color drained from his face. He sat down slowly in the chair across from her. "I can explain. You're a millionaire, a CEO. You've been lying to me since the day we met." "I never lied." "I just didn't tell you everything." "That's the same thing, Daniel." "Or should I call you Daniel Marcus Rivers?" Her voice was rising. "I thought we were struggling. I thought we were in this together, trying to build something. And the whole time you've been, what, playing poor? Slumming it?" "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been living some kind of weird social experiment, while I worried about grocery budgets." Daniel leaned forward, desperate. "I need you to understand something. I grew up watching my father destroy every relationship with money. Every person who got close wanted something. I watched him become bitter and alone. So you decided to lie to me instead? I decided to find out if someone could love me for who I actually am. Not for the money. Just me." Elena stood up, too angry to sit still. "You should have told me before we got married. Before I committed my life to you. Would you have married me if you knew? I don't know. But I deserve the choice. I deserve the truth." "You're right," Daniel said quietly. "And I was selfish. I was afraid of losing what we had, that I kept the secret too long. After we were married, I was terrified you'd think I'd trapped you. I defended you to my parents. I gave up my relationship with them because they thought you weren't good enough. And you had more money than any of them. I know." "Do you? Do you understand how humiliating this is? I felt sorry for you. I worried about you working in the cold and the heat. I suggested we skip things because I thought we couldn't afford them. And you just let me. I liked that you cared about me that way. Not about what I could buy you, but about me as a person. But I didn't know the person. I knew a version you created. A character you played." Daniel stood up, moving toward her, but Elena stepped back. "Don't. Elena, please. The person you fell in love with is real. The guy who volunteers, who wants to build affordable housing, who loves cooking with you, that's all real. The only difference is the bank account. The only difference? Daniel, you let me think we were building a life as equals. That's everything. She grabbed her purse and phone. Where are you going? Away. I need to think. Elena walked out, leaving Daniel in their modest apartment that he apparently didn't need. She got in her car and drove. She ended up at Amy's house. Amy took one look at Elena's face and pulled her inside. Elena told her everything. About the folder, the $300 million. About feeling stupid and betrayed. Amy listened, then said, "Okay, you're allowed to be angry. He should have told you. But think about the guy you actually know. Has he ever acted entitled, treated you as less than equal? Used money to control you?" Elena thought about it. No, never. Did he ask for a prenup? No. Does he control your spending? No, we just split things. So the Daniel you know is exactly who he's always been. The only thing that's changed is you now know he has money he never used against you. Elena put her head in her hands. My parents were horrible to him. They said he was using me, and I defended him without knowing the truth. But you were right. He wasn't using you. If anything, he was protecting what you had. He still should have told me. Absolutely. But is this something you can forgive? Because he loves you. And he's probably terrified he's lost you. Elena stayed at Amy's that night, lying awake thinking about everything. About Daniel working alongside construction crews when he owned the company. About him volunteering every weekend. About the way he talked about affordable housing with genuine passion. She thought about their marriage. The late-night conversations. The laughter. The way he looked at her. Had any of that been fake? No, she knew it wasn't. But it had been built on deception, and she didn't know if she could forgive that. The next morning, Elena knew she needed to face this. She needed to see Daniel to really talk, because she needed to decide if this was something she could get past. Elena drove back to the apartment the next morning. Her hands were shaking as she unlocked the door. Daniel was sitting on the couch in the same clothes from the night before. He looked like he hadn't slept. "Let me talk first," she said. "I spent all night thinking." Daniel nodded, looking terrified. "You hurt me. You lied for 2 years. You let me worry about money. But Amy asked if you'd ever used your money to control me, if you'd ever treated me as less than equal." Daniel looked up. "The answer is no. You split bills 50-50. You never made me feel like I owed you anything. I'm still angry, but you're the same person. The only thing that changed is a bank account number." "I should have told you before we married," Daniel said. "I was a coward." "Why didn't you?" "At first it was nice to meet someone who didn't know. Then I fell for you and I was scared. I'd had people date me just for money. I wanted what we had to be real. It was real. But you didn't trust me. I was afraid of losing you. And by not telling me, you almost did. Can I show you something?" Daniel asked. "Will you come with me?" Elena nodded. They drove to a construction site with a sign. Rivers Development, Oakmont Affordable Housing Community. Daniel led her through. Workers called out greetings. They walked through partially built units. "This is what I do," Daniel said. "This is why I worked construction. I wanted to understand this business, to know what workers and families need." "This is beautiful," Elena said. "I have money. I can't change that. But I'm using it to help people. It's not an act. It's who I am." "If we're going to move forward," Elena said as they drove back, "no more secrets ever. We're partners." "That means honesty, I promise. No more secrets. And I need time. Whatever you need." Over the next few weeks, things were strange. They were careful around each other. They talked more about real things. Daniel told her about his childhood, the pressure of inheriting the company. Elena told him about feeling lost after Brandon. Daniel showed her his world slowly. She saw him as the CEO he was, professional and commanding. But she also saw him help a janitor, remember every employee's name, fight for affordable housing budgets. He was still the same Daniel, just with more layers. One evening, they were cooking dinner together. "I called my parents today," Elena said. "How did that go?" "I told them the truth," Elena laughed. My mother was speechless. "They want to have dinner. Do you want to?" Part of me wants to say no, but they're still my parents. Daniel turned off the stove. "Then we'll have dinner. But here, in our home." "When did you get so tough?" "I learned from my wife. She stood up to her family for me. The dinner was awkward. They arrived overdressed. But Elena didn't care anymore. Daniel was gracious but firm. When her father discussed business, Daniel talked about affordable housing. When her mother made a comment, Daniel said, "We like it here." Her father shook Daniel's hand. "I may have misjudged you." "Yes," Daniel said. "You did." After they left, Elena laughed. "Did you see my mother's face with the mismatched plates?" She looked in pain. Daniel grinned. 3 months later, they were stronger. The honesty was deeper. They'd worked through the betrayal. Daniel offered to buy a house, but Elena said no. Not yet. She wanted to earn that, to build toward it together. She needed to contribute equally. Daniel understood. He didn't need her to fit his world. He wanted to build a world together. Elena quit her corporate job and started consulting with nonprofits. Daniel offered to fund it, but she refused. She took a small business loan. She needed this on her own terms. Her first client was the community center. Watching her impact felt more meaningful than any corporate campaign. One Saturday, they were volunteering. Daniel was painting a mural with kids. Elena watched him laugh with a little boy, guiding small hands with paintbrushes. This was who he was. Not the CEO, just Daniel covered in paint making a kid smile. He looked over and mouthed, "I love you." She smiled back. "I love you too." Walking home later, Daniel took her hand. "Every day I'm grateful you gave me another chance. What we have is worth fighting for," Elena said. "You made a mistake, but you're a good man." They walked in silence. Then Elena said, "You know what's funny? My parents wanted me to marry someone rich, and I did. By accident while trying to do the opposite." Daniel laughed. "Life's weird, but I wouldn't change it. If you'd told me from the start, I might have judged you. I might have seen the money instead of you. So my deception was good?" "Don't push it," Elena smiled. "It was wrong, but something good came from it. We built something real. We fell in love as equals. Now that I know, nothing changed about how I feel. That proves something." "We were meant to be," Daniel said. "That's cheesy." "You love it." She did. They reached their apartment. Inside, surrounded by mismatched furniture and their small happy life, Elena felt something she'd never felt before. Free. Free to be herself. Free to love someone real. The fact that he was a millionaire was beside the point. What mattered was that he made her laugh. That he challenged her. That he saw her and loved what he saw. That he worked through hard stuff. That was worth more than all the money in the world. A year later, Elena stood at the opening ceremony of Oakmont Affordable Housing. Families were moving in. Kids running through the courtyard. Daniel was at the podium speaking about community and affordable housing. Elena watched this man who chose to live modestly. This man who chose to earn her love. After the ceremony, a little girl from the community center ran up. "Mr. Daniel, is this really all yours?" Daniel knelt down. "It belongs to the families who live here now. I just helped build it." The girl hugged him and ran to join her family. Elena took Daniel's hand. "You know what I realized? My parents wanted me to marry someone successful. Brandon looked successful but was empty. You looked like you had nothing but had everything that matters. Character, kindness, purpose. The money was just a detail. Just a $300 million detail." Daniel smiled. "Still just a detail. The real you, the person I fell in love with, that's what I married. The guy who paints with kids and fights for housing and treats everyone with respect. The bank account is a bonus." Daniel pulled her close. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do. We deserve each other. We fought for this. We came out stronger." They watched families arriving, starting new lives in homes they could afford. This was Daniel's legacy. Not money, but impact. Lives changed. Families housed. This was Elena's legacy, too. She'd chosen love over status, truth over appearances, and found something more valuable than wealth. She'd found herself. "So, about that house," Daniel said. Elena laughed. "Maybe next year, when my business is established. When I feel I've contributed enough. You've already contributed more than you know, but I understand. We'll build toward it together." "Together," Elena repeated. "I like that." They drove home to their modest apartment, their simple, genuine life. Elena had never been happier. She'd learned the most important lesson. True wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in love, in purpose, in the difference you make. By that measure, she was the richest woman in the world. As Elena fell asleep that night, She thought about her journey. From a broken engagement to discovering Daniel was a millionaire. From anger to forgiveness, her parents had wanted her to have everything. What they didn't understand was that she already did. She had a partner who respected her, work that mattered, a community she loved. Sometimes the best things come in unexpected packages. Sometimes the broken engagement leads to the real love story. And sometimes, choosing your heart over expectations turns out to be the smartest decision you ever made. Elena smiled in the darkness, Daniel's arm around her, knowing she was exactly where she was meant to be.